Hello everyone and welcome back to more AEW and TEW 2020. We are here at the beginning of February, the month of the Rose, as Garza called it. On our way to Revolution, our biggest pay-per-view of the year. Basically our WrestleMania. And I will be honest, after Revolution, I plan to sort of change up. I plan to do some new things with the series. Obviously, I always say the same thing of, I'm gonna write the stories better. I'm basically gonna start getting that as like a season 2, almost, if that makes sense. But we'll find out how that exactly works when we get there. We start off our show of Dark with Jade Cargill debuting and defeating Max the Impaler. Then the Future defeats Bear Country. I'm actually going to change the gimmicks of the... One of them had Leo had a gimmick that was getting stale. No, they both just have terrible gimmicks. Oh well. Following the match, Frederick Hurst comes out to the ring. He says, I know what everyone's thinking. Why the hell is this Dark Order reject, this bankroll dropout here? Yeah, I get it. It's a bit weird. But I have something that I really need to say. Donnie and Leo, you two are wasting away in the princedom. I mean, I get it. It's all cool and whatever to hang out with Fergal Devitt, but there's something that all three of us need to learn. You guys can do better than this. I know I sure as hell can, but why are you guys just hanging around with all these old timers? I mean, no matter how cool he is, and respect for the legend, Devitt's still 40 years old. You guys are half his age. All three of us are half his age. And you know what? I think we can get even bigger if we stop letting ourselves sit in the shadow of those people from the 2010s. We're in 2020 now. We need to make the stars of 2020s. And who's better to do that than you two? With me in your corner. Both the brothers look at him and disregard him walking backstage, but you can almost tell on their face that there's a little bit that they almost might be convinced, he does have a point. Frederick Hurst is amazing on the mic. I have mentioned this before. He's got, literally 90 mic. Okay, technically it's 89 mic. I think it's 89 mic, 89 charisma, and 84 acting. So good on the mic. Donnie and Leo, Leo is one of our top prospects. Donnie a little bit further behind, but want to see if we can maybe start building up some stories with the regens, with these younger people. That's gonna be one thing that I'm going to try to push in season 2 is these younger people storylines. And speaking of young people, we have Lavender Sky defeating Patricia Vibert. Nyla Rose defeats Yuka Sakazaki. John Moxley defeats El Phantasmo. The Wu-Ten Clan defeat Arata Kawasaki and Nobuhiro Shimatani of the DDT excursion people. And the Wu-Ten Clan get on the mic afterwards, and they're ready to cut a promo when the Gun Club's music plays. And Billy leads his sons out before he starts speaking and says, yes, we get it. The perfect tens and all that. So what? You two are winning matches here on Dark, but let's see if that could really translate to anything. See, since we lost to you, Austin and Colton have been training their asses off, and like hell, are we gonna let you old-timers beat us again? Cardona just grabs the mic as well and says, look, neither of us are getting booked on Dynamite. The fans have never cared about your stupid kids, and the fans turned their backs on us. Why else do you think that despite our 5-0 record now, that we're not in the title match at Revolution? What the hell is this shit? But, you know what? Fine. We'll prove things to you, and we'll prove things like we have to all these deadbeats in the crowd. Very minor storyline. I'm going to try to run more storylines on Dark. Darby Allin defeats Ricky Starks. Utami defeats Nancy Bouchard. Then the Von Erichs and Brock Anderson are seen training in a small gym before Arn speaks to the camera. He says, you know what it's like to train your own kid to wrestle, Tony. You know what it's like to train someone of a renowned wrestling family that isn't your own. Look, we've always been two sides of the same coin, Tully. You and I. Since we started our careers, we've been intertwined. back and forth through the entire history. But here's the difference between you and I, Tully. My son is in this company. My son is out here putting on a show for all those people watching at home, whether it be on Dark or on Dynamite. Your daughter is nowhere to be found. Marshall and Ross were nowhere near where they are now until I started training them. Davey had already wrestled for years. Sure, you've won battles in this managerial war, in this coaching war, Tully, but you're far from winning it. I needed something to fill time. Killer Kelly defeats Kenzie Page. Roxy defeats Kylie Ray. Deonna Purrazzo defeats Riho. And then we see the LWO in a backstage area talking amongst themselves. Soon enough, there's a knock on the door, which Homicide answers, and so much to their surprise, Bandito's at the door, and he walks in. The group all have a discussion in Spanish, and it is subtitled because we are on YouTube, we can do that. Everything is edited. And they're glad that he is thinking about joining. And Vicky Guerrero even offers him a unique bonus just for him. As Shaul Guerrero, her own daughter, soon arrives, Vicky announces her as Bandito's manager, and they say that they'll get a match set up for next week's Dark. Bandito with Shaul Guerrero in his corner against someone else. So Bandito possibly looking to join the LWO, as Shaul Guerrero we have brought into the company to just be another manager for the LWO. Get a little bit more legitimacy. Yeah, Vicky was the late wife, I guess, of Eddie Guerrero. I don't know exactly how the terminology works with that. Shaul Guerrero is their daughter, so yeah. Kiera Hogan's defeated by Tenille Dashwood, and that finishes off our show of Dark. Our show of Dynamite begins in a little bit of a different way than normal. So rather than beginning with a match, the show begins with a short vignette dated to the previous day. Kenny Omega is seen training in the Nightmare Factory by himself. The door soon opens up. A bunch of ninjas of various sizes rush Kenny, and while he puts up a valiant fight, the ninjas eventually beat him down and take him away, with one of those ninjas taking the camera, which was presumably set up by Kenny to, check his form or whatever. They follow the ninjas as they toss Kenny into the back of a van and shut the door, the van driving away before the rest of the ninjas get into their own cars and drive off. The camera shuts off as it finally moves to the opening of Dynamite. Just yesterday in game, Kenny Omega announced that he was going on a hiatus from wrestling. Now, storyline-wise, it's a pretty good time for it. He has a lot of enemies, and I haven't even decided who's going to be the kidnappers. But it still is inconvenient when one of your top stars goes missing, so, or decides to just leave for who knows how long. So we're gonna just take a page from the Samoa Joe book and have him get kidnapped by ninjas. But this time, I hopefully will actually remember to follow through and find out who was behind the ninjas. Dustin Rhodes then defeats Jimmy Shane. Not a surprise. Well, come on, Jimmy. After the match, Penta's music plays, and he walks on the stage and just simply says, "Playtime's over," before leaving, so presumably, Penta's making the challenge to Dustin Rhodes. It's real short opening segments. After this, we see Garza in a limo holding his TNT title. He says, "The month of the Roses is off to a slow start, isn't it?" Presumably he hasn't seen the vignette of Kenny. That will change. Don't worry. That will change soon enough. It's not difficult to notice, but I'm not at the arena. I'm on my way to the arena. After all, I take a lot of time to ensure that I'm as beautiful as possible. And it doesn't take too much work, but a man needs to know how good he can get. And I'm also sure that none of you in the crowd are busy spending their days surrounded by gorgeous men and women. You've been on Twitter and see that a TNT title match will be happening as soon as I arrive against one Ace Austin. You all better be hoping and waiting for that time to arrive soon, because I will show the glory and the beauty of the Rose to all of you. Garza beginning his month of the Rose with a TNT title match against Ace Austin, which I think will be pretty good. Jericho defeats Cash Wheeler. Actually, a pretty good match. ZSJ then gets into the ring and is ready to take down Jericho when he's stopped by Sammy Guevara, but Sammy is then taken out by Charles Betts, allowing ZSJ to take down Jericho. He locks in one of his creative submission holds because that's just what Sabre Jr. does, and he only releases it when Angle tells him to stop. Members of Team Angle leave triumphant. Chris Jericho has now beaten both members of FTR in singles action. Presumably the next target on the list is Zack Sabre Jr. Charles Betts could get involved. Don't know exactly yet. Again, I've mentioned before that my current plan is Betts versus Jericho at the pay-per-view, but I'm not sure yet. Lots of options I could do. After this, we see some vignettes of Kana in various places, just doing whatever, just everyday things. And in each one, she's interrupted by Hams Katana, who still really wants to be friends. Morgan Daniels is also participating in this, although again, it is mainly led by Hams. They're all trying to become friends with the increasingly exasperated Kana. The segment ends with Kana at a sushi restaurant, shortly before Hams enters the door. It sort of Friesen does the to be continued. You can imagine how around about the JoJo's end theme playing. Do 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 do. I don't know exactly if that's how it. I know what it sounds like in my head, and I know I'll be able to recognize it when I hear it, but I don't know how to recreate it right now, so don't worry about it. So yeah, just more Hams madness. Again, just trying to work on some newer people storylines, build up a youth movement. After this, we cut back to the arena where we see that the ring has been set up with a cage around it. MJF gets an MMA-esque entrance, getting to the ring before Colby Covington arrives to be MJF's opponent. Colby Covington, I just looked up UFC villains. Colby Covington was on like all of those. Because I was imagining it'd just be someone who easily gets paid off because, surprise, surprise, it's going to be a sham. So, whatever. After the entrances, the fight begins, but it's very obviously a farce. The two exchange lazy grapples until Covington just trips and falls to the floor, and MJF puts him in an armbar, and Covington taps out. He doesn't even look like he's in pain, he just taps out anyways. Ref calls the match in MJF's favor, and he's quickly given a mic afterwards, and he says, "See, that wasn't so hard. Hell, I won it in a quicker time against a better opponent than you ever did, Mr. Brooks. You know how easy it is to be just like me? Well, it isn't easy if you're anyone else. See, people like me and like Tanil and Diana are some of the best in the world for a reason. We are the best in the world for a reason. Because we were born into it. That's what makes us different from the rest of you. All of us had the silver spoons born in our mouths. But all of you, Punk fans, Moxley, Page, everyone, nothing. The VIPs are so important because we've always been. We've been born into success, and that's something that we're never going to lose." MJF is an asshole. More at 6. After this, AJ Styles is seen backstage and is interviewed by Pat McAfee, who asks, quote, "What the hell was that with Kenny Omega?" AJ says that he doesn't know, and that if he wanted to take out Kenny, he would do it on a big stage and not in such a lame way. He knows of the false of kidnappings by ninjas, directly referencing the time that Samoa Joe got kidnapped by ninjas. AJ assures that it was not him and the Bullet Club behind it. He wants to face Kenny in a match, and not to just steal him away. Pat McAfee we're gonna have as another, interviewer, mainly. So Renee is going to be more formal ones. Pat will probably just have be, ringside interviews. He'll have more casual sit-downs. Like, more professional stuff goes to Renee, more casual stuff goes to Pat, because Pat is a very casual guy. After this, Brock Lesnar defeats Matt Sydal in 13 minutes. Heyman's actually a little bit upset by how long Sydal lasted in the ring against Brock, but he gets on the mic anyways, saying that Brock is the ultimate enforcer of the wills of the law of AEW and of Paul Heyman. He's about to cut more of a promo when Brody Lee's music hits, and he marches out to the ring, getting face-to-face with Brock. The two get into a fight, and Paul Heyman immediately tries to leave, but before he can get out, Jake Roberts is in the ring. He gives a short arm clothesline. I feel like that's something that... we've seen that Jake can do that, and Paul Heyman, I think he'd be willing to take that tiny bump. Heyman has gotten physical in the past, not too much, and I think he'd be fine with, with a short arm clothesline from Jake. As Brody and Brock are brawling soon enough, Lance Archer gets involved, and after Brock is taken up by a discus clothesline by Brody, Lance takes out Brody with a clothesline of his own before just picking up Sydal, carries him out of the arena. Jake Roberts follows close behind. Big scrum of just big hoss fights. This is a real meaty fight. And this is my plan at Revolution. It's going to be Lesnar, Brody, and Lance Archer. I'm hoping I can actually find some PSDs of Revolution match cards so I can actually make match cards. Because I am starting to do good well, I finally got Photoshop instead of using my old photo editor, but it's neither here nor there. I want to make actual match cards for Revolution, but we'll see how that goes. After this, Garza's limo arrives at the arena, cameras follow him as he makes his way to the ring, a bunch of paparazzi take photos, there's an occasional photo. Basically, this is just a really big time-wasting segment, as things get cleaned up in the ring, as everything gets set up for the match. Garza does get the entrance first. All three of the Rose Garden are at ringside. All the paparazzi are also out there, which I imagine would be... I'm imagining that this match coming up has some fun with that, like Ace Austin would be thrown to the outside, the paparazzi would be taking photos, or Garza's beating up Austin on the outside, and he poses for a few glamour shots. So, a little bit more of a laid-back TNT title match, but Garza does pick up the win. And now that I'm actually, pushing him, Garza was someone that initially I don't really know why I signed, but he's doing very well for himself, even if it did take about half a year for him to really get the ball rolling. Because, of course, he started off that feud against MJF, and now TNT champion. I'm actually going to book him pretty strong for this. I'm liking Garza. He's a very, very solid mid-card. I mean, a 77 rating, pretty nice. He's got about 50 pop or so. Ace Austin has been amazing in this series. He's one of the people who's grown the most pop-wise. I think Mayu, MJF, and Ace Austin are the ones that have grown the most, which Ace is just weird because I feel like I have not used Ace at all. There's a lot of people that feel like I haven't used, and again, I hope I can use them after Revolution, but again, Revolution planning to do almost a Season 2. I probably will just call it Season 2, because then I can cheat and call it on Episode 1 again. But I'll probably have... Basically what my plan is, I'll talk about that at the end of the episode. After a little bit of celebration, there's a cut backstage where Renee is with Vikingo, saying that he has an announcement. He says, "My first ever match on Dynamite was against Pac for the TNT title. I had won a Breakout Stars tournament, and I failed in getting the TNT title from him, but I was inches away, so close to that victory, seen as one of the best matches of the year, but now, there's a bigger prize at stake. Pac, next week I'm challenging you for the world title." For a very long time, Vikingo versus Pac for the TNT title at... Was that at New Year's? That might have been at New Year's. It was a special Dynamite. That was one of our best matches for a long time. I think only recently a Kenny versus Devitt match had overtaken it. So now Vikingo has a lot more pop. Pac has quite a bit more pop. Vikingo is actually recognizable now. He was unimportant during the TNT title match. So I think that can legitimately, if I have it same sort of setup as before with the world title on the line, I feel like I could possibly get maybe our first blue match. Pat McAfee's then with Adam Cole. He looks very wary because, the whole NXT thing, but he still asks about the whole thing with Kenny. And Adam Cole says, "I'm more focused on other things. Plus, my congregation would have nothing to do with ninjas. We're a proud people, proud to show ourselves to the world because we know that we are above this mortal plane. We've conquered death before, and we're not going to let some secrecy be something that hinders us. Now, if we were to attack Kenny, you would know. Now, if you'll excuse me." Of course, Adam Cole going to be taking on Jeff Hardy at the Hardy compound. It would have Matt involved, but his knee is shattered. Then the Young Bucks are seen in a backstage segment with Adam Page, and they talk about what they're going to do at Revolution with Kenny gone. The Bullet Club is still going to insist on the match, and the Young Bucks know that Adam Page has the world title match on his mind. Whether that's against Vikingo or Pac, especially with that recent announcement. Before Page can say anything or even take a drink of whiskey, Kota Ibushi walks in and simply says that he will help out the Bucks. While he's not the reason for the cult or the Bullet Club's anger, he has a duty to Kenny to protect his honor and thus protect Kenny's friends. Kota Ibushi has been gone since he lost the world title, I believe. Which was all the way back in, like, November. Yeah, it was at Full Gear that Kota lost the title to Pac. Not Tupac. To Pac. But Kota Ibushi, he was just absolutely wailed with a kendo stick as the finish. Had it snapped over his head, full baseball swing. Kota Ibushi still has a few bandages on, probably like on his head. He still is he's still very obviously beaten up from that match, even though it's been about 3 months or so. But he is going to be helping the Young Bucks, even though they don't get along always. He's defending Kenny's honor. And in our main event, an 81 rated. Jesus! That's very good. I think our highest rating is like an 83. So for women's match to score an 81, like, good lord, that's amazing. The only bad thing was Flair's gimmick being poor, and also Flair was like, oh, I'm not gonna be happy if I lose to Mayu. Well, too bad. Mayu wins 1850 Dragon Suplex, 4th defense of the world title for the women. Amazing matchup, 79 rated show. And yeah, so what I plan to do after Revolution is I'm going to make a State of the Universe. I'll just say this straight up, things are going to be in this State of the Universe the exact same as they are in the game, especially with the Power 500. Because the Power 500 really, really, really puts a premium on match amount. And tag matches. There's a lot of weird things with just how the Power 500 works. So I've remade a top 25 for men, top 10 for women. I basically plan to do State of the Universe, talk about all of what's happened between, because again, it will be a season 2, do basically what led us to this point. Why are we here? How did we get here? So I'll talk about a lot of the major things that have happened all over the world of pro wrestling, not just in AEW. This will be really the first time we get to see a look outside of AEW. So, go over all the signings that have been made, go over what's been happening in WWE, go over what's been happening in New Japan, maybe even AAA I'll take a look at, CMLL I might take a look at. Just really go over the entire world, see how things have been going, and I'm going to try to stylize that quite a bit, but I'm also very lazy, so no idea how well I'm going to be able to do that, but that will end it for this episode of Dynamite. A very good show. I was worried that this would be pretty bad, but it really, really did not fail. So, I'm happy with this. Unfortunately, Kenny's gone, but we'll deal with that. And we'll move on to the next week of the month of the Rose, February.